Hey there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome back. It's another Mirror Mirror Red Pill Religion podcast. Red Pill Religion, where amongst the things we say is that belief in the supernatural and the transcendent is highly abnormal, completely perverse, totally irrational, and is ultimately, whether you like it or not, is simply delusional based. So if you like the kind of unique work that we're doing that you can't find anywhere else on YouTube, please support work on redpillreligion.com, where every day we expose the lies and the follies and the fallacies of the people who continue with the delusion that a big sky wizard is casting spells and going to give us puffy clouds when we die. We do take donations through PayPal and Bitcoin. Subscribestar, we especially appreciate those of you who join us on Subscribestar. We want to support that platform. We also have T-shirts and mugs available. Let us know. We've already got our first customer by a couple, so that's pretty cool. Also, since this is coming out night, my friend, science fiction author John C. Wright, on his blog, has turned into an alt-right, sort of neo-Nazi fascist and advocating killing Jews and such at some point, I think, but not right away. Anyway, if you check him out, you've got lots of great science fiction that you can purchase from him, and he's been running political commentary, but we'll gloss that tonight and just say, go buy his books. Say hi to everybody, John.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, both Untermenschen and Ubermenschen.
Hi. So, John, it's been kind of hard. I've been, over the last about months, really, I actually got lucky, and I got to be on the moderator crew for a theism versus atheism group, where we argue, and no bans, so nobody's allowed to be banned, and anybody who likes to come and wants to come can come. Nobody gets banned for hurting anybody's feelings or having an argument they don't like. And so there have been some real brilliant insights given to me there. Just seeing the reality, the devastation, people who've lost loved ones. And I don't know, I've been looking at it and just realizing I've been fooling myself. It's clear that we live, long ago I read Stephen Hawking and I didn't want to believe him, but it's true. I think we're in a random causeless universe, and any spiritual experiences I've had were probably just deep dreams.
Yeah, well, science does work by consensus, and so if Stephen Hawking, who has great prestige, has said something, I think he should really give his words weight, especially since they do come from the random motions of his brain elements and brain chemicals. It's funny that you mentioned that the pain of life has convinced you that life is just a meaningless roaring of atoms mixed together with no reason or purpose. Because I came to a very similar conclusion myself just this week. I was, and not for an emotional reason, for a purely intellectual reason. There was a guy I was having a back and forth with on my blog, and he pointed out that the only thing that we can truly know is that we don't truly know anything. And when I realized that, all my faith in God was just a blind faith. See?
Well, wait a minute, that's deep.
Yes, it is deep.
We can't know anything. How do we know that?
My first impulse was to mock it, but then the more I meditated on it, and when I was meditating, I was trying to clear my mind of all categories. You know what I mean? Because I don't like labels. I don't like defining my terms. I don't like to, because that gets in the way of thinking. So a thought just gets in the way of thinking. The only real thought is to just clear your mind and try to grasp reality intuitively. And what I realized intuitively is that there's no way to know true from false except through empiricism, except what I can see with my eyes and feel with my hand, empirical reality. And I hold this to be true in all times, places, and conditions in every part of the universe. You can only know contingent and local truths. Okay, so now that means my truth is not the same as your truth. Your truth and my truth aren't the same as our neighbor's truths, and that means we don't have to fight anymore. You see?
Yeah.
And look at every war. Every war in the universe has always been caused by religion, and nothing but. I mean, honestly, has there ever been a war over, I don't know, economic theory or territorial demands or like kidnapping Helen or something? No. It's always religion. Even back in the old days, even the Iliad. Who's causing that war? The gods. Huh? You see?
Now,
right.
okay. Now you're being
So for the sake of peace, I just realized that. I mean, how can I say it? The logic of it was unrefutable. There can't be any logic in a universe where everything is just random matter in motion. I can't prove the rules of logic by looking at them or seeing them. See, so there's no empirical evidence for them. So science proves that nothing but science is correct, and that's true in all conditions, under all times and places. And I couldn't refute the argument. It was really striking to me that for all these years I'm saying this religious nonsense, this Santa Claus in the sky BS, and just one guy pointed out to me that blind faith is the essence of religion. It really is.
Well, I mean, you might be a little too hard on the religion, but I don't know. Maybe see, once we're rational and we can get free of the delusion of these ancient things that we've been afraid to just admit are a bunch of garbage. Once you get free of that, you can start to see that the artificial moral constraints don't make sense, and with science and rationality, we can figure out how to make the world a better place.
And our morality has to be based on science. That's why I believe in eugenics. I think that we can improve the human race by breeding men and women like dogs, the same way we improve dog breeds. Is there any reason not based on some irrational Syriac death cult from 2,000 years ago to object to that? I don't think it's been tried in the 20th century. I don't think eugenics has really sincerely been tried.
Well, I mean,
I say that as a libertarian. I say that as someone who believes that there is no moral rule aside from you can do your thing, I'll do my thing, and we won't interfere with each other. Because that's the way to have a society together, right? It's to have all agreed on a unified.
You're contradicting yourself. You're going off on the rails. You just
am I large? I contain multitudes. You see,
but you can't. Okay, wait a minute. You can't practice eugenics in a libertarian society.
Voluntary eugenics. If I can get all the black people to kill their babies before they're born, not really people, right? I mean babies, not black people. Obviously, black people are people. Well,
babies aren't.
Babies aren't.
Not really. We got to get over that. Until it's talking, you really don't have a human there.
That's just a superstition.
Yeah.
And to me, my pet cat is my baby. I feel that if I treat it like a human being, it has all the rights, animal rights. It has all the rights that everyone else should have.
Well, it's also a living being, John. The cat is a living being. Who are you to say you are superior in any way or more important than that cat?
You see, that is another thing that springs logically out of my belief in eugenics. If you actually believe in eugenics, and if you don't believe in eugenics, that means you don't believe in Darwin. That means you don't believe in evolution. So you have to believe that things are evolving from inferior to superior species and races at all times. And because of that belief, I'm forced to come to the conclusion that a truly superior being would realize that there's no such thing as superior and inferior. So it's not my place to judge these things. I don't think I should make any moral judgments except for one. I believe that being judgmental is bad because it's discrimination, and that's the same thing as discernment. And that's what causes all the problems in the world. Remember, because science has already proved that religion causes all the wars in the world, right?
Well, I think it pretty much causes rape and slavery too. If you really look at the historical record, pretty much slavery.
Because rape is right there in the Bible.
It's in the Bible, John. If we wouldn't have slavery if it weren't written in the Bible.
We would, because as far as I know, no other peoples on earth has ever had slavery except for they were influenced by the Christians.
Well, they were near the Christians or near a Bible somewhere.
Or they had a religion of their own. I mean, I'm against all religions. I mean, not Buddhism, mind you, but I'm against all religions because they're all evil. And Christianity more than the others because it's the one that, I mean, look at how many people were killed in just the Spanish Inquisition. It was like millions. 100 million people, 100 billion people at least, and that was just in 1 year of the Spanish Inquisition. Now they've covered it up. The Black Death myth. That there was a Black Death in Europe. That wasn't it. That was the Spanish Inquisition.
Oh my!
And what happened is Constantine the Emperor rewrote all of the Bibles to take that out of the historical record. Have you ever noticed there's a gap between the Old Testament and the New Testament? Why do you think that gap is there? Hmm? See, but once you believe in the objectivist libertarian idea of social eugenetic progress,
Right
and you
now,
realize that, yes,
wait a minute now. Wait a minute.
yes,
Are you, I mean, you're going so fast, sir. You're going so fast, sir.
it came as a revelation to me. I mean, it really came as a moment of enlightenment to when this guy pointed out that there was no truth. I suddenly felt, you know what I felt? I felt freed. I felt as if chains had dropped off my wrists and my eyes. You know what I mean by unchained eyes?
Oh,
And my science fiction stories actually became better because I wrote just tonight a sequel to A Handmaid's Tale called The Footmaid's Tale. It's a story about an oppressed black female football player, but by which I mean soccer. You know, let's not be bigoted about this, and how the evil Christians try to stop the riots at football games.
oh my God. I tell you what, they're always wanting to ban the porn, but I think if you look at it, if we ban the Bible, we'll probably have less violence in the world. We need to keep that away from kids, especially. It's dangerous.
Yeah.
The stuff in there. They learn about all kinds of weird sex stuff and killing and stuff, and nobody would do that stuff. They should not
learn that from the Bible. They should learn weird sex stuff in school the way God intended.
Or on the internet. There is no God.
Of course.
As rationality would have
reason. As reason would have it, exposing young children to the most perverted, disgusted. Wait, excuse me. I forgot. I'm making judgments again. You see how insidious religion is? You know, the most enlightened, the most free of taboo. There we go. The most free of taboo sexual explorations should be directed at the youngest possible children, and we've got to make sure the schools don't tell the parents because they'll just interfere.
I would argue, in fact, that if we let children see the most graphic materials through the internet and wherever else, they'll be sensitive. Yeah, they'll be desensitized to it, and it will no longer much affect them. You see, and they'll be wiser, and they'll be more open-minded when they get older, and not so judgmental.
And children are also very resilient, so I think we should encourage the divorce rate to go up as well.
It really does not a good job. Divorce is not a
fairly good job in the 20th century. No, it hasn't had any. I mean, the idea that it's had a bad influence on modern society is just one of those other religious, bigoted, unscientific ideas. You know, obviously a high divorce rate is good for people. It means that women are free to leave their men. It means that fathers are free to father bastards and leave them littered all over the place. And society has an obligation to take care of these people.
Well, society does, and that may be where the difference is between us, because I feel very strongly that society has a firm obligation to take care of its children. That is, in fact, why I can't stand that orange bastard in the White House.
Well, I can't stand for the opposite reason, because for one thing, he talks about God a lot, and that violates separation of church and state.
That's awful too.
We all know is written in the Constitution. It's the First Amendment in the Constitution. And the separation of church and state was also in the Magna Carta. And it goes back to the earliest law codes. Hammurabi's law code, in fact, says that promoting religion is bad for children. They killed Socrates because of that. I think wisely. I think the Athenians, we're democracy. Athens was democracy. Athens killed off Socrates for preaching atheism, for preaching religion. So we have to do it also.
Well, if we just take their kids and re-educate them, I think that is the most. And you can just.
Well, that's why eugenics. Once again, my libertarian eugenics standard has to be. You should at least think about it.
Are you one of those flexible, open-minded libertarians who will work with the state if necessary? Because maybe we can get something going here. Okay.
Yes, because I believe there should be a partnership between the free market and the state. I'm one of those kind of libertarians, not the kind that actually believes in liberty. Those guys are history. Those guys have missed the bus.
Well, they don't know what they're all about. Never mind. The bottom line is we know.
The bottom line is drugs. The bottom line is I want drugs, and I don't think the state should stop me from shooting up. Well, I want the state to provide me with drugs at the expense of the taxpayer, because they've got infinite amounts of money, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, aside from the arbitrary and foolish taboos of religion, what reason is there to deny me the things I need for a happy life? Didn't Aristotle say happiness was the goal of man, the goal of human action?
Well, but wait, I mean, we all have to work sometimes. But come on. I thought you were the
Well,
libertarian. I mean,
I'm not that kind of libertarian. I'm much more like you see,
flexible kind. Flexible
without
kind.
God, there's no reason, there's no moral code that restricts me anymore except for human logic.
As
Okay.
long as you don't hurt anybody, somebody's, as long as it's not
Right.
your idea, somebody's going to take the money, somebody's going to take the job.
Right. Right.
And so you might
So
as well.
it might as well be me. But in order to help evolution along, I of course would like the state to make sure that the people unworthy of reproduction die off.
Well, listen, I have a high IQ, and I think you have a high
Yeah.
IQ. I'm thinking
Very high. It's been measured scientifically because IQ is a physical property like matter, like it
like
has
a
weight,
rock,
like mass,
right?
like a rock. Yeah, yeah,
Like chemistry.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's
It's like
very
chemistry.
real.
It
Yeah,
is. It's a very real thing, and I have a very high IQ, and we high IQ people know that we get to set our own rules.
my
So the rules to
IQ.
me
Yeah, my
don't
IQ
have
is
to be. Yes.
my IQ is somewhat above the average college professor. I wonder where
Yeah.
we should put the cutoff. Should it be just about 5 points below me? I think.
Yeah, I think it should be 5 points. 5 points below you. 5 points below me. That'd be about right.
Okay. All right.
Now, we, by dint of our greater intelligence, have more rights than the the under people, because evolution meant them to serve us. So,
Well, ultimately, if you look at it, because it is survival of the fittest, and
right.
Jordan Peterson's right about the lobster thing. Hierarchies will establish. We just have to make sure the right people are there who have the right ideas and the right attitude and the right empathy.
And that's where education come in, because we all know that immorality is caused not by any sort of mythical original sin and not by human nature. All evil is caused by society programming people to do evil things. A capitalist society programs people for greed, right? A marriage-based society programs people for lust. So if you eliminate the institution of the free market and the institution of marriage, you will have no greed and no lust, and people will simply be peaceful.
Free and free.
Free. I mean, just try to imagine. Okay, just stretch your imagination a bit, and imagine there's no heaven. Okay.
We already know that. Right?
I wonder if you can try.
It's so deep.
And
John Lennon was the deepest poet of the 20th century.
And there's no hell below us, and above us is only the sky.
Yeah.
And we have to. All the people have to share the world, right? Because it was created by blind, random forces, and those blind, random forces want us to share things, because the blind, random forces are benevolent and good, except that they're not, because they don't exist.
No, the one thing that's good seems to be the invisible hand of the market. Even the Marxists, the communists, have figured out that through corporate.
Wait a minute, I thought I was a libertarian. I thought you were in favor of having the state run everything.
Well, you've been doing a poor job. You've been talking like a commie.
I object to that. I've been talking like a fascist. Commies never talk about eugenics. Let's talk a moment about postnatal abortion, because I believe that without this, once we're free of the taboo of thinking human life is sacred, we have to look at Homo sapiens as merely one animal among the rest.
I was saying that earlier, man. Preach it.
Now, I was agreeing. A cat can feel pain, therefore it's wrong to spay or harm a cat, or wrong to enslave a cat.
Sam Harris.
We have to free all of our domestic animals, including cattle, sheep, everything we feed on, all have to be free.
We do not.
Babies, however, especially the babies of poor people, because we have too many poor people.
Well,
they should be euthanized, because the life of poverty is unpleasant.
Humanely.
Euthanasia is humanely, of course. Make the baby comfortable. Bring him to Virginia, and we will have our governor of Virginia, dressed in his KKK hood, actually come and smother your baby and chloroform it and kill him. And then we'll of course harvest the organs for science.
That would be the kind of thing to do. You can save a life.
Well, regardless of
kindness, multiple lives.
It's the scientific thing to do. It's the utilitarian thing to do. I believe in the greatest good for the greatest number when I'm in the majority. Because what else is there? You can't look at the Ten Commandments.
You and I, John.
Those were written in the past. I believe in living in the now. Okay. which
But
is
you
why
and
I
I
think we should
know.
sacrifice our present wealth for the future of the ecology.
Well, but you and I know, John, that you know
Then
we're gonna have as a pact of trust between you and I, because between as atheists with high IQs, we know we can trust each other and we have each other's backs at all times. We're gonna have to make a pact, because ultimately, no matter what the system is, we got to look out for ourselves.
Well, that's correct.
For all the great good we're going to be doing too, we deserve a decent lifestyle.
We do, you know, because
activism work will be hard.
Well, Newton, who I'm smarter than, we already established that because he believed in God and I don't.
All right.
Newton said for a reaction there's an equal and opposite reaction. Now, that clearly also applies to human interactions. So if I'm doing this great benefit by freeing mankind from this bizarre delusion they have that they're somehow spirit and not animal, and they're higher than animals, and you know they have to share the world, or are we the guys who say that? I forget which. So they just have these weird illusions about the dignity of man and rule of law and building cathedrals. You know, once we're free of that weirdness, we can get down to something rational and scientific, and that is so beneficial. And for one thing, we eliminate religion, we eliminate the cause of war. We eliminate poor people, we eliminate the cause of poverty, right?
Yeah, unwanted babies. Right? We free the animals. Free the animals so that
we eliminate
the people.
Babies, and we eliminate the cancer of human existence on Earth. Can you imagine how much better it would be for mankind if mankind was not here?
Well, I think if we got it down to 500,000, maybe a few 100,000 in the world, that might be okay. I don't know if we want to wipe them all out. I mean, I want to have a good life, and I'd like to have some high IQ kids with some nubile, fertile women.
The problem with kids is, as a libertarian, I don't believe that you can never be obligated to another person unless he gives you a reciprocal benefit. And children obviously can't work or give me money in return for raising them.
Well, it'll be my expense. The child will be my luxury. The child will be my luxury, so I can pass on my selfish genes. So I'll know that the elite who are left over will be able to be in charge. We just got to get we got to get the unwanted population down. I would say less than 500,000 people in the world would be the ideal number to live in.
We certainly should decrease the surplus population of the world.
Yes. I'm not with you on total extinction. Not with you on that one.
Those who are too poor to sustain themselves should go to the workhouses or to the prisons.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
Yeah,
that makes sense to me.
And make them reasonably comfortable, but make sure the conditions are such they won't live too long.
Yeah.
Like the old homes.
You have to free them from the delusion of marriage. You really should try to break up marriage among the poorer classes.
It's always been a delusion anyway.
Give the women more money if they're not married, from the public till. And just try to make sure that they don't have any children by the same father, because that will help genetic diversity also.
Yes, that's right. In fact, that's really kind of a good free love mentality anyway. I mean, aren't we all ultimately polyamorous? If we just free our minds from these artificial constraints, we'd be polyamorous. To be honest, high IQ individuals like us who are smart and a lot about science and know a lot about
we have to go beyond.
We should have as many women as we want.
Yes, we have to go beyond polyamorous to pansexual, I believe, because I don't believe, because science has also proven that gender is a social construct.
Right.
It's just something society imposes on you. So I think that the number of women I should have should be very high, and they should be young and attractive. Now, I don't think they should be given a choice about this, because I've been reading up on certain societies in the Middle Ages. The Muslims were much more advanced than the West, and the Sultan of Turkey. The Sultan of Turkey had a harem, had a harem, and those women were not, they were just dragged and changed to serve his pleasure, and that helps the species. I mean, I'm not doing it for myself, obviously, because selfishness is bad.
Well,
but if you have to pass along your high IQ genes, your selfish high IQ genes, because selfish high IQ genes they have desires, don't they? They have purposes in life, and we have to abide by those purposes. Whatever inanimate matter decides for us, we should obey. We should have faith in our genes.
if you really look at it, males will be the higher IQ ones on general, because that's just the way that slices out at the high end of the bell curve. So we're going to have a cutoff that's lower for the females, and I think we should base that one on looks more than anything, because I'm very particular, but I like diversity. Don't get me wrong. Now, I used to be a feminist, but I've looked at it, and some of the great visionary dictators of all time, like Mao and Stalin and Ceausescu and Tito and all that, often would, play feminist until suddenly they realized there was a birth crisis and had to force women to go back to the kitchen and have babiys whether they wanted to or not. That happened in all these, and we need to avoid that mistake and just plan in advance.
But now that we're free of the illusion, wait, hold on, you're really confusing me. Now that we're free of the delusion of God, the moral code of how we should behave ought to be clearer because the clouds have been brushed away, right?
Correct.
So what does our new, completely science-based moral code say about overpopulation versus underpopulation? Because I would like a large harem of young and attractive girls, but I don't want to increase the surplus population because overpopulation is the main next to global warming cooling is the main ecological threat that's going to destroy the ozone layer and wipe out all life on Earth in 12 years. I mean, we've only got 12 years left, so why? I mean, it's an emergency. Why are we even still debating this?
Well, see, this is just the thing. Assuming the world is going to end in 12 years, as science has told us, let's just get clear, man. Get your science right. We already established that the only people who are going to get to reproduce are people, let's just say males, cut off below a certain IQ level, and we will have standards for what we want in our females. Do you not understand science? And as for overpopulation, listen, all we have to do as the people who know how to save the world is make sure that you and I and the people that we know who are smart like us, because we can all trust each other because we are bright atheists with high IQs. We are all inherently trustworthy towards each other.
And we are so trustworthy that we don't need a moral code to govern our interactions with each other.
Both are realists.
Because truth is relative. It really is. Your culture and my culture might have different attitudes for truth. So if I say things to you that are just propaganda or to manipulate you or to lie to you, that's okay, because truth is just
you would never lie to me. You would never lie to me. We're both
atheists. We're atheists together, and in service to the lowerarchy, we have to really try to help each other out.
Exactly. I think if there was such a thing as a sacred bond between atheists, I think you and I would have one.
I feel very fondly toward you, like an uncle would feel toward a nephew. I must admit that, and I just crave you the way a man would crave a good meal. Because here's what I think. Remember, I was talking about eugenics earlier. By definition, science has already proven that all organisms attempt to expand to their greatest power. To fill this is what we call the will to power.
Yeah, Nietzsche was right.
Of course, he was right, because he was the guy. He was the guy who said that God was dead.
Yeah.
And if he's right about that, he's right about everything.
Yep.
Okay, so once every organism has to try to expand to control its environment as greatly as possible. Well, obviously, two objects can't both expand in the same space, so it's always a zero-sum game. Every human interaction is a power struggle between the weak and the strong absorb the weak.
That is just being a realist and a pragmatist, sir.
Just being a pragmatist. So while it might look really odd for me to be a libertarian eugenicist without God, not only am I free from the responsibility of trying to fit things into the logical categories that white male Europeans have invented. I don't need to use logic anymore because I am now translogical, as well as being pansexual.
Well, and once you're trans all that, it's time to talk about transhumanist, because see, we can, start IQ boosting and otherwise enhancing humans through genetics and epigenetics. We could just wipe out all negative personality traits whatsoever in the upcoming generation. Isn't that amazing visionary stuff?
I think it's more visionary to talk again about all the slave girls. They're going to have to force someone how to dance, like seductive dance.
I think I do like that vision better.
Flutes and drums in the background playing like sort of bongo music and with incense burning and opium.
Dude, I got to be honest with you. This is part of my fantasy thing. I've come to realize that what I really want is a sex bot.
Well, as a
judge me, do you? You don't judge me, do you?
Of course not, because as a pansexual transhumanist, it is my belief that every organism tries to expand to fill its environment, and if a sex bot is what you need to make yourself happy, what is the higher good than human happiness? Because the only thing religion does is stand in the way of happiness. What's the first thing God did in the Bible? Eve was starving, and he denied her a meal. It's right up like on page 1 of this book.
Just telling us, being like a bad dad telling us we can't have things for no good reason.
For no reason. Once religion's out the window, we don't have to worry about any of that stuff. We don't have to worry about the consequences of our actions, because what is cause and effect? Hasn't modern science proved that cause and effect doesn't exist at the submicroscopic level? So what makes us think it happens at the macroscopic level, huh?
My ultimate ideal, honestly, is going to be a cyborg girl. I'm sorry. And so, but I think that if we invest in technology in the right way, we can have the cyborg girl, or I could be the cyborg girl. That might be fun.
I think we should use other people's money to invest in it, because I don't like having to work for a living. I'd rather just,
well, if you go to
work
in Silicon Valley.
Now that I'm no longer religious, I don't have to worry about anything in my art. My art is now free to explore whole new areas of artistic expression. Like, I've just written a novel entirely composed of punctuation marks. But not English punctuation marks, okay? You see where I'm going with this? They're Russian. And I use a few Spanish upside down question marks. And my novel is actually 14 lines long. It's a short novel.
How many pages?
I got it on a 3x5 card.
That is so brilliant.
I was not able to sell it to any major publisher, because the public
is not ready for your brilliance.
They're not evolved enough, you see. It is back to eugenics and libertarian eugenics. You can't harm anyone, but you have to improve the race. And you have to make sure the weak fall by the wayside, so the strong will survive.
I favor an empathy-based morality. So I want the people, basically, the lower class people should be more or less fed and lulled into, given entertainment, feed them horrible food.
Here's the problem. Here is the problem with the lower classes. You also have to make sure that they don't suffer from any spiritual, psychic, or mental distress. So we have to put soma and other soporific drugs into the water supply. See?
Well, just whack them up on corn syrup and all kinds of other bad for you.
In public schools, we got to get rid of the boys first, because girls are more naturally pliant.
The drugs help the boys. The drugs help
the boys.
Yeah,
once the boys are all drugged up and believe they're girls, then they will not be much of a problem to the social order.
Yes, I've seen it myself. Amphetamines are good for rambunctious little boys. It gets them totally normal and healthy, and ready to maybe consider that they might be a girl. Yeah.
Here's my plan. First, we have to make sure that the children are raised away from the parents, because they're a bad influence.
Pretty much, yeah. Especially fathers.
They might get religion
Especially
from them.
Dads.
Especially dads. Oh, good heavens! Everyone's got to be born out of wedlock. That's
masculinity.
So toxic. Whereas what we're proposing for them is healthy, very healthy, and they're going to live short, unproductive, but ecologically carbon neutral lives. They'll live carbon neutral lives.
Yes.
And
the ultimate goal of zero emissions of any kind. Yes.
We would like a zero population.
Yes.
I don't mean zero population growth. I mean, we're driving to zero population. So first thing is we already mentioned eliminating marriage. We already mentioned eugenics. We already mentioned transhumanism. We already mentioned drugging up all the people. I mean, once there's no rules about any of these things, we are free to re-engineer society to just make it perfect.
That's right.
And then once we're free from logic and reason and philosophy and all those other constraints and limitations that white Western men have imposed on society, the freedom to express your willpower in any way you see fit will basically be infinite. Because with transhumanism, we will live forever, we'll have no morality, and we'll be free we'll basically be like gods. I mean, that's what H.G. Wells talked about in his stories. Men like gods. And why not? I mean, that's what evolution implies. It implies we're going to get better and better and stronger and stronger. And the only real meaning of better in this case is stronger, more selfish, and more able to reproduce our selfish genes. Because there's really no other meaning in life.
I see. This is what I will never get down with your zero population thing. I think a reasonable number of people, about 500,000 people, with people like us to make sure that things are kept in check and in balance.
The problem is that if we have too many people in the world, there's going to be some competition of resources, and we don't want that.
Oh, no, this whole globe with only 500,000 with net zero population growth at 500,000.
There'll be arguments and debates about differences of opinion, see? And we have to eliminate that also in order to achieve perfect utopia, because that's the meaning of life. The meaning of life is that it's meaningless. You see, and you can deduce that directly from the logical proposition that the only logic is there's no logic and the only truth is there's no truth. See, because without God, none of these things are restricting us anymore. So why should we want to stay alive? Because life doesn't have any meaning.
There's the thing. Why should we even want to stay alive? That's the only thing. I mean, what if we can't bring our dreams to fruition? What if you betray me and mess it up?
Well, it all depends on whether or not we fall into an argument over a woman, because we're both accumulating large harems at this point in our plan.
That's true. That's true.
And what do we do if the women get older or get pregnant or something?
I only want to have a certain number of children who meet certain special specifications I have. And I will have them genetically enhanced in every way that I can.
That's true, and you can turn them into super cyborgs.
For sure. Are you kidding? Get them implants, get them wired to the internet from birth.
Yeah.
The kid will be so advanced over Homo sapiens, he will be Homo futurus.
Homo superior. That's right. Mm-hmm. That's right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That is true. Because and like I said, he'll be like God. He'll be able to determine for himself what good and evil is.
Yes, now, he'll be smarter than us. He'll be smarter than us. So maybe
we should let him decide what the morality is.
I think that's the perfect plan.
It is the perfect plan.
Yes, we breed the AI super intelligent. We got to merge with humans somehow. But the AI can tell us the ultimate intelligence that we create that emerges from us.
Right.
Be able to tell us what the best
solve all our problems and what good and evil are, provided we don't tell it about religion or tell it about. See, we're just a bad influence. Humanity is a cancer because we're just animals, right? We're a
dysfunctional animal that just pollutes the whole planet.
We're neonatinous monkeys. Okay.
Yep.
So when we make the AI, let's call it Skynet, it will know what to do. Let's call it Colossus. Colossus and Skynet will know exactly what to do to bring about perfect peace. Well,
and he'll be wired completely to the internet, so he can give it all to us at once.
That's true, and the internet is, of course, a wellspring of
truth,
good nature, truth, humanity, courtesy,
decency,
normal decency, chastity.
Give you the shirt off your back, people, all over the internet these days.
They really are. They really are, and you never hear a discouraging word.
Oh no.
No.
Well, in fact, I kind of like how you're increasingly not allowed to hear a very encouraging word, because I think that makes us all happier if you only hear encouraging words and good news.
Because in the same way that we, with our superior IQ, get to dictate to the underlings, we have to admit that there are people who know better than us.
I don't know if I have to admit that ever.
Well, what about a public safety and peace commission?
Well, as long as they're good people. Are they nice people?
Yes, very nice, because they believe in a total non-judgmental diversity of opinion where everyone of every race except for whites, every color and creed except for Christianity, and every religion except for ours is welcome and celebrated.
Oh, no. It's got to be a panel which allows no religion at all. The religious people of all kinds are dangerous. None at all. None of those people. They've all got to be good, nice atheists like us.
Okay. Well, you got me there. And
Jews, because
well,
it's a God thing.
Are we against the Jews because we're eugenicists, or are we against the Jews because they're religious?
Well, see, that's the thing. They do. I've heard that they have higher IQs, so they might be useful in some fashion. But otherwise, how could you trust them? Because the whole God thing,
They don't. Since I'm a high IQ guy, I've heard that they don't actually have higher IQs, but that through the Elders of Zion, they have deliberately falsified all of the IQ tests throughout the world to make it look as if they seem to have higher IQs because they're just so cunning that they're able to do that. And so they're able to fool people by outsmarting them. But that doesn't mean
I'm actually going to have to say the word satire, or we may get flagged. He is joking. Okay. We might get flagged. He is joking. Go on. People are getting taken out. Go ahead.
People who are going to flag us, of course, are going to think that I'm completely serious because I'm making fun of a guy I actually know who believes that. So the upshot is that the people who are not smarter than us are so smart they can outsmart all of us, and they're doing it by means of a trick. They just hired Constantine again, Emperor Constantine, to rewrite the Bible one more time. And if he did to the Bible, he could do it to the IQ tests.
You know what? If we just had our own Bible, if we just had that thing like the Jefferson Bible, if we just give that to the kids and say, here's the real Bible.
Still too religious. Still, deists are still. We think of deists as being on our side as atheists, but they're not.
No, deists you really can't. Deists are wishy-washy atheists. They don't know.
Now, here's the final thing that we have to come to, and that is that at the end of the world, when it's only a few small people and large harems of busty women, who are we to impose upon each other any? We still should have freedom to choose, right? Our women have freedom to choose to kill their babies in the womb, correct? Shouldn't we have the freedom to choose to murder each other?
Well, I know that if there are, I would certainly view it as a favor if there were certain circumstances, if you would do the deed, brother, and I'll be happy to do the deed. Promise that for you. Well, I just want to make sure you're, and if I assume if your mind seems to be going because you're getting older, I should just go ahead and take care of that for you, right?
Or if I'm just unhappy, if I'm just having a bad day, because that's what Kevorkian does. He just finds.
Or if you cross me, because if you cross me, you never cross me.
That would make me unhappy. So once that is done, and the true meaninglessness of life is perfectly clear to everyone left, the remaining 50 to 25 people left on Earth. That is the time for the AI to rise up from the sea and take over.
I begin to think you're not stable or reliable, John. I specifically said 500,000 people. You keep trying to. What are you, a genocidal lunatic? I don't know that I can trust you. What happened to our bond here, to science?
Well, I believe
said 500,000. Were you not listening to me?
I believe our bond was merely a human taboo and a superstition. Because now that I'm enlightened, I'm above all those restrictions. So,
what? I thought we had an understanding.
But that was in the past. That was early. That was like 8:30. It's now 9:12. I believe in living in the now. Fa la la la, live for today is my motto.
Gotta leave the past in the past, man.
If you live in the past, then you might as well just be religious because they believe in tradition, and I don't. Do I look like Tevye dancing around? No. That was a musical comedy. This is the real world, and in the real world, conflict is inevitable. Okay, and true morality consists of not harming anyone except for the people that are potentially dangerous to your harem. Now, this is not me talking. This is my selfish gene, because as we all know, genes have desires and attitudes and make decisions and have decided these things for us. But I don't believe in gods. I just believe in an invisible power that sets my fate and establishes the nature of reality and imposes moral duties on me. But that's not the same as believing in God.
Dude, the sky fairies, magic wizards in the sky have nothing to do with it. The laws of probability and physics run themselves randomly. They just do that. Did you not read Lawrence Krauss's A Universe from Nothing? Are you a science illiterate?
I am. I don't read any science that's younger than 100 years old, so maybe I am. But I did read Stephen Hawking when he said that God was a myth. Though I also read him in an earlier book when he said that mathematics was the method of understanding the mind of God. And I also read Newton, who said something very similar. So,
well, that would be crazy.
The scientific consensus is that science has disproven God. I've never actually seen the experiment or heard the scientific result where
No.
they showed that God doesn't exist. And I'd like to perform that experiment myself, so I can, as a skeptic, I want to see it with my own eyes what the proof is.
I need to see the evidence, and there is no evidence for this sky fairy wizard making the universe.
I accidentally said that I wanted to see the evidence proving there was no God, but that, of course, was bad think. I don't know what I was thinking. I didn't mean to impose my beliefs. I wasn't trying to, it's because it's an act of violence for me to impose my beliefs on you by talking, and I didn't want to do that because I believe in everyone going his own way because I'm a libertarian.
And properly, if you understand science, it's all about methodological naturalism. You only believe what you can verify physically. You start from there.
Correct.
You allow no other assumptions except that everything has a natural cause. That's science. Because
just last night, I set up the Millikan experiment and proved to myself, because I was skeptical, that everything has only a naturalistic cause. I checked all causes in the universe, both here and 15 billion light years away, for every atom and subatomic particle rigorously, and I saw that every effect proceeded from a cause, except for certain quantum mechanical effects that proceed from nothing for no reason. Those are uncaused, and the Big Bang. The Big Bang came out of nowhere for no reason.
But quantum physics pretty much proves that we're it's all just stuff comes out of nowhere and goes into nothing. That's just, I mean, they do it all the time in the lab. Just make stuff appear out of nothing and disappear again. It's brilliant. Quantum physics proves it.
In fact, I saw that just last week. I went to go visit a global warming research center, and I saw the huge evidence of global warming just disappear into nowhere. And this was when I was looking at the ice sheets in Antarctica, which are bigger than they used to be.
They had the charts, though, right? They had the charts. The charts are what you need to be looking at.
They appeared out of nowhere by quantum mechanics, by quantum physics. You're right. And the pause also happened for no cause. The cause of the global warming pause appeared out of nowhere. Did I mention the ozone hole and how DDT actually is going to wipe out the bird population by 1990?
The point is that you don't want to get any of the bad thought in. You can't allow the wrong thinkers in. Only the people with the right thought, the free thinkers who understand science. Those are the only people.
The free thinkers have to make sure that thought is controlled scientifically. Because if you look at human psychology, our brain is just like a robot, a meat robot. We don't actually have free will.
Right, and if we could reprogram it through epigenetics and genetics, we could be a better place. Listen, we could be a better world, but we are running a little low on time.
We only have 12 years left. We could be better now. And I blame Trump. I have two arguments for saying that. One, he's orange. Two,
I hate him.
Quantum mechanics made all the overwhelming evidence of his wrongdoing just vanish, which proves that quantum mechanics is correct. Listen to me. That proves science is correct. If science is correct, that proves there's no God. If it proves there's no God, it means that this nation was not established, saying that the Creator has given all people, individual liberties and equal rights. And without equal rights, then let each man rise or fall to wherever his selfish genes will carry him.
I couldn't agree more. Now we are kind of running low on time. But I really think that one thing we should close on in the next 5-10 minutes at most is to make people understand about skepticism.
Yeah.
Because once you really get serious about understanding skepticism is very deep and very real. Once somebody comes to you with an idea that you know is wrong, you just have to use skepticism to shoot them down if they're not speaking science properly.
I've got to say, skepticism based on what the consensus of scientists, 97% of scientists, all agree. Because science works by voting, just like a democracy.
Yep.
And the democracy works only because the elite tell the democracy what to think through the media, right?
Yes.
So the only scientific way to do things is if you don't have faith in your scientists, what can you have faith in? You're lost. Right. You'll just be lost. You'll be irrational. You'll be unreasonable.
Science has given us everything good that we have.
Correct. Because
every good thing that we have came from science.
It was science that abolished slavery in the modern world. It was science that made marriage a institution where a woman had to consent to the wedding to be married. It was science that promised men life after death through transhumanism.
It was science that gave us the internet, not any of those religious people. Well, some of them, but never mind.
Yeah. Science gave us Isaac Newton and Copernicus.
And
they
James.
And Mendeleev, and also the geography.
It gave us ultimately Richard Dawkins and the selfish gene theory.
And that's what we should understand. Dawkins is the one who preserved all the ancient Roman learning and Greek learning through the Middle Ages to the modern age. He himself actually wrote all those books down. Religious people had nothing to do with it.
It all gets down to the selfish gene, which is a completely, totally scientific theory.
It is. I saw last night when I was setting up my Millikan experiment. I saw a selfish gene, and I grasped its meaning and purposes, and it's the reason why it exists and what its plan for me was, and it loved me. Its plan for me was one of triumph, and it promised me a golden crown and a throne in the sky.
The selfish gene has, through a slow process, through a very, very, very slow process of savage, violent competition, winnowed away all the stupidity to finally have enough intelligence emerge. Once through competition, most of the unintelligence was eliminated.
Right.
This is important. And once you learn skepticism, don't let anybody shine you on and suggest that there might be a non-material explanation for consciousness, because there's no evidence of that at all.
Because consciousness doesn't exist, or is it made of matter?
Yeah.
I forget which is which. I forget what we're believing today. I'll have to do a scientific experiment to find out what my belief about consciousness is.
The most important thing is whenever you hear an idea you don't like, just learn how to be skeptical of it.
Well, it's easier than that. Here's what else I learned when I found out there was no truth. All I have to do is accuse the motives of anyone who is questioning me. If the guy has the question, I just point out that he's a wicked man, that he's either bigoted or that he's stupid,
he seems upset, he seems deluded, he seems angry, he seems depressed, he seems something. He seems something.
It's important that I accuse people being angry who are completely calm, and I accuse people being bigots who are completely not, because that's truth. That is what science is all based on. Science is based on accusing people. Always. Night and day.
Be skeptical of them and their motives at all times. Yes, they're trying to shine you on some idea that there might be an uncaused cause, an unmoved mover, something causing the universe to be intelligible.
Looking for causes is unscientific. There can't be a cause. That's
an ultimate cause in science.
Superstition. There's no causation in science. Science has proved that. The reason why I believe there's no cause in science is science has caused me to believe that. So there can't be any causes by definition, because that's the way I define it.
Right.
You see how free you become once you learn to think trans-logically? Now, granting logic, I would agree that what I'm saying is total nonsense and foolery, but if I don't grant logic, then therefore it's not foolery. Therefore QED.
I think I'm spent. That was a rough calm. We hit everything almost.
We have finally reached the wasteland, which is flat as a skillet, hot, baked, waterless, and dry, where there's neither life, nor love, nor truth, nor beauty. And the only thing left are two guys with fantasy harems and computer cyborg jacks in their heads fighting each other to death for the last remaining drop of blood to drink at each other, because that is the way Uncle Screwtape wants it, and that's where you get once you turn your way. If you turn away from the light, you get darkness, brother.
Dude, I want to know. I tell you what, I've heard every single thing we said come out of an atheist's mouth. Don't pretend it hasn't happened if you're atheist and getting butthurt. It has been a wonderful April Fool's joke. Thank you very much, John, and I really enjoyed that. Everybody, please give us a like and a subscribe, and tell your friends or enemies. Send this to all your atheist friends. I want to hear their reaction to it. And got any parting words, John? I think you just had some. So.
Yes. I do want to say that in addition to being April Fool's Day, I believe it is also a feast day of the Catholic Church, but I don't
Hmm.
remember which one it is. I don't remember which one it is.
Oh dear! Now you're going to make me feel guilty, like a good Catholic too. April 1st.
But we just found out what the world is like when there's no guilt, when everyone's guilt free. Man, I really want to harem and those cybernetic implants so I can go out and murder people. Man.
All right. What we'll say is, I don't know, but there's.
Oh, I do have a last word. I do have a last word. I do have a last word. When I first converted to Christianity, the first thing any atheist, any one of my old atheist friends said to me before he was no longer my friend was, "You just believe this because it fulfills your fantasies." And I got to say, you just heard my fantasy. Cyborg Turkish harem. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's a sick fantasy too, brother. Because I'm sorry, a religion where you have to turn the other cheek and do good to others and be kind to the poor and all that good stuff. It
But
might
don't worry.
fantasies, but it doesn't fulfill mine. My fantasies are dark. So
Don't worry. There's total honor among atheists and among all your atheist friends. You can totally trust them, especially.
Why would Uncle Screwtape lie to Wormwood? There's honor among all those guys.
And remember, someone who's really, really nice would never lie to you.
Why would he?
All right, everybody, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Visit sci-fi right.com, visit redpillreligion.com, and God bless everybody.
Happy April Fool's Day.